Hello there, folks. My name is Spooks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Bob Marley One Love, making $4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $89 million and a worldwide total of $160 million. So Bob Marley One Love still doing very well. It actually held as much as it did last weekend, just falling 45%. It's still maintaining its audience despite, as we're heading into March, a very crowded, busy month, which we'll get into much later in the video. But yeah, it's still holding very well. The word of mouth is still going strong, and it's about to surpass the $90 million milestone domestically, and it's already surpassed the $160 million milestone worldwide, which is fantastic to see for its $70 million budget. Don't think it's going to get to $200 million worldwide. Unfortunately, it does seem to be slowing down. Again, the March crowded zaniness of it all is definitely hurting this movie a bit more than I think I was expecting it to. But still, I think this movie still does deserve a lot more credit than it's getting, as it's pretty much the first major, well, not major, but the first solid hit we've gotten this year, and it really set off what we're seeing right now with all these solid openings happening more recently. Yeah, we had Mean Girls and Beekeeper doing pretty good, but this was pretty much the first movie of the year to really go like, wow, this movie's doing pretty well for itself. And yeah, I definitely think it deserves a lot more credit than it's gotten, since I feel like it's being overshadowed by the other movies. Not to say the other movies are wrong for doing so. Again, we need growth at the box office, but it's showed this movie some more recognition for what it was able to do earlier this year. But yeah, still, it's still going strong. It's definitely not going to be the first film of the year to surpass 100 million, but given where it's at, given where it's still going, despite everything that's come out since then, it's doing pretty good for itself. Not much more else to say here. This is definitely one of, if not the last time we will see it in the top 5, but yeah, still pretty much the movie to kickstart the very solid lineup we've been seeing so far, and I commend it for that, as well as it having a very solid performance overall at the box office. Number 4 was Cabrini, opening with $7.1 million this weekend domestically and $7.2 million worldwide. This is a new feature from Angel Studios. Man, how they love catching me off guard and surprising me. Again, this is another one that I did not see coming. I didn't see a lot of advertising or marketing or buzz for this movie. I didn't even know this thing existed until looking up the box office numbers for this weekend. But, once again, it's still impressive that these movies are able to find as big of an audience as they are able to. The fact that they were able to crack the top 5 is definitely worth noting, given the lack of marketing, or at least huge marketing I've seen for this film. But I definitely am more worried about this movie's performance than I think others are, because I definitely don't think this is going to be the next Sound of Freedom for them, as it obviously does open much less than that film, but this also is a much more expensive film than Sound of Freedom. I think it costs $50 million, ladies and gentlemen. Now, word of mouth on this is good. It got an A Cinema Score rating, which is great, and so maybe this thing catches on. Maybe the word of mouth is as big as Anyone But You or Migration, to where it has these very solid holds that carry it throughout the rest of the month. But again, it's such a crowded month. We still got Ghostbusters and Godzilla and Kong supposed to come out later this month, so I'm worried that this movie's going to get buried by the competition, and on top of the other two big movies that are already out that are stealing a lot of the thunder from this movie. So yeah, definitely going to be an interesting story to see here. Again, anything can happen. We'll see. Maybe this pulls a Sound of Freedom. Maybe this pulls an Anyone But You or Migration, but I have my doubts on that. Definitely an interesting opening. We'll see where it goes, but I'm going to remain skeptical on this film's performance. We'll see what happens with it. Number 3 was Imaginary, opening with $9.9 million this weekend domestically and $11 million worldwide. This is the second biggest opening for a horror film this year, sitting behind Night Swim, which, if you don't remember, came out back in January. And honestly, I don't think that's a great sign for this movie. Now, this opening isn't bad for this movie specifically. This is reportedly a $12 to $13 million opening, so this opening is already fantastic. It's made a majority of that back, but I thought this would do a bit better. I thought the concept was certainly far more interesting and intriguing than a haunted swimming pool, but I guess a lot of other people didn't really think that. I thought the buzz would really at least gravitate towards the horror crowd. Horror has been doing so well lately, especially in the past couple of years. But apparently, it wasn't even able to grab a lot of people's attention. I guess the concept of a horror movie about an imaginary friend with a creepy teddy bear just didn't really entice people, and those who did go to see it did not like it that much. It got a C plus cinema score rating, which is on par for some horror films, yes, but I don't see this movie's fate being saved by anything, really. The word of mouth just doesn't seem very strong for this movie, and it looks like it's definitely going to get overshadowed by a lot of other films down the road for sure. Hopefully, horror picks up next month with The First Omen and Abigail, because right now the genre is not having a great year so far, with Night Swim and now this not really pulling in the big numbers. We'll see where it can go from here, but yeah, things ain't looking so good. Number 2 was, funny enough, Dune Part 2, making $46 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $157 million and a worldwide total of $369 million. So while I was surprised that the movie didn't hold on to the number 1 spot for this weekend, I thought the word of mouth and the hold would be a bit softer and a bit better than it turned out to be. But it still held pretty well. It only fell 46% from last weekend. And it is still very clear that this is the first must-see movie of the year. It's the first film of the year to surpass 100 million domestically, and it's looking like it's going to continue growing and setting some milestones for the year. 200 million is definitely at play here domestically. Worldwide, 400 million is definitely on the horizon, and I can even see it surpassing 500 million. We'll see how much further the movie can go, but it's looking very likely. The word of mouth is still off the charts for this movie. It's still putting up a good fight. People are still encouraging others to go and check it out. It did very well on the daily numbers, and despite getting, knocked down a peg by another big movie, which we'll talk about momentarily, it's still, bringing in these big numbers and setting the year off to a very phenomenal start. I look forward to seeing how much further this movie can go, but it's looking like it's going to keep going bigger and bigger for at least the rest of the month, even with all the stiff competition. Especially this weekend, the movie has shown that it's still putting up a good fight and audiences still want to go check it out. So yeah, another solid weekend for Dune Part 2. I look forward to seeing how much further this movie can go, but yeah, once again, the year's first big major blockbuster for sure. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was Kung Fu Panda 4, opening with $57 million this weekend domestically and $81 million worldwide. Being the first of its kind, it is the biggest opening for a family and animated film this year. We'll see how long it holds that title for, but as regards for everything else, it is the second biggest opening of the year so far already, topping Bob Marley One Love, Mean Girls, and Argyle, but still sitting behind the first Dune. It is the second biggest opening of the franchise, topping Kung Fu Panda 2 and 3, but still sitting behind the first Kung Fu Panda. In terms of DreamWorks films released under Universal, it's actually the biggest opening under their partnership, topping How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, Trolls Band Together, The Bad Guys, and Abominable. And in regards to DreamWorks overall, it is the 8th biggest opening they've had in all time, topping Home and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, but still sitting behind Monsters vs. Aliens, the first Kung Fu Panda, Madagascar 3: Europe's Most Wanted, Madagascar Escape to Africa, Shrek Forever After, Shrek 2, and Shrek the Third. Definitely a big overperformance for Kung Fu Panda 4, and this is someone who had very high expectations. I was worried that the marketing being not as strong as I think it should have been was going to hurt this movie a little bit, but no, clearly enough people wanted to check out Kung Fu Panda 4 for sure. I think it's just the fact, like what happened with Spider-Verse and Dune, the time after the last movie, the audience has grown and appreciation has grown for those movies that many people wanted to go check out the next installment. And I also think the fact that, this is the first animated kids movie to come out in months, the last being, Wonka and Migration back in Christmas, definitely helped this this out. Again, I think a lot of families were really desperate for a new kids movie to take their kids to, and what's definitely going to help this movie is that this is going to be the only animated kids movie playing in theaters until May, when If and Garfield both come out. So this movie's got plenty of time to grow, plenty of time to make its money, and it's already made most of its money already. The film only costed $85 million, and it's made a majority of that back, and it's looking like it's going to continue to grow for some time. I heard that China held some early access showings for the film, and they were monumentous. So just imagine how it's going to do when it officially opens in China. It's definitely going to surpass 100 million, both domestically and worldwide. I definitely think it's going to surpass Kung Fu Panda 3 and maybe even Kung Fu Panda 2 domestically. Don't think it's going to reach the heights of the first one, and that's a result of the word of mouth. This did get an A- cinema score rating, which is actually on par with the first film, but it's lower than the second and the third Kung Fu Panda films. And in terms of other animated family films, it's on par with Ruby Gillman, Wonka, and Disney's Wish, which is definitely concerning, but I see this film being more like Wonka than Wish, because I feel like the word of mouth is definitely better than Wish. I still think there's enough people who really like this movie, thought it was a good enough time to go check out at the movies, and certainly liked it much more better than Wish. Also, what helps, it costs significantly less to make than Wish, as well as all the other stuff I said before. So yeah, overall, this is a fantastic opening for Kung Fu Panda 4. Completely caught me by surprise, again, as someone who had high expectations for this film's opening. And this is one of the few films this month that I think is not going to be that hurt by the competition. Again, the word of mouth is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. We'll see how it does in the coming weeks. But, once again, given the still positive response from families and the lack of other animated kids movies out right now, you'd think someone would take advantage of that, but nope, I guess they don't want it to. I still think this movie's got a shot. I still think this movie's going to make a ton of money at the end of the day. And yeah, overall, looking very forward to seeing where this movie goes from here. And this is still a fantastic start for Kung Fu Panda 4. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being Arthur the King. It's another movie with a cute, adorable dog helping some people out along the way type movie. Look, this month has been on a roll, with the openings of Dune and Kung Fu Panda 4, but I don't think this movie's going to continue that trend. I'm really not expecting much for this movie. Don't get me wrong, the dog looks adorable and sweet, and I'm sure this movie's going to have some sweet moments in there, really tug at the heartstrings, and if it can do that well and capture hearts of many, I'm sure it could be like a surprise hit, like what happened with the Channing Tatum movie Dog from a while back. That movie really surprised a lot of people, and there is a shot that this movie could do that. It's got the star power of Mark Wahlberg, and if it's cute and sweet enough, then maybe it could be a sleeper hit, but I'm still not expecting much for this movie. The marketing hasn't been the best. I haven't seen a lot of promos for this recently, and the buzz really isn't there. I don't see a lot of people talking about this movie, and once again, the very crowded rest of the month is looking like it's going to really crush this movie under the weight of all that and really bury this movie, if you know what I mean. So yeah, not really expecting much. There is a chance for this movie to surprise, like I said, but again, I don't think that's likely to happen. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.